There's not been one argument. You've all just sat there going, we agree, he sucks. Your own guy sucks. He's barely alive. You've lost your fight, haven't you? Biden has removed the fight from Democrats. That's what I'm seeing here.
Not.
Absolutely. Actually, I agree with that.
You agree?
I totally disagree. No, if Donald Trump is taking insane, again, the Supreme Court ruling today is unbelievable.
Piers Morgan hosted a very heated debate between Michael Knowles and Destiny, the woke streamer, where Destiny said that he would vote for Joe Biden's corpse in an urn over Donald Trump. That's how brainwashed the left is, because I truly believe him. I think that people like Destiny, people like Bill Maher, people like The View, I think they would all vote for anyone, literally anyone, even a dead person, over Donald Trump. I believe him. But this thing got very, very heated between the Piers Morgan uncensored guest, Michael Knowles, and the woke streamer, Destiny. Let's get into this clip here from this episode of the Piers Morgan Uncensored Show.
Criminal charges against him, right? But no one's talking about it. They're all talking about whether the guy currently in the White House can even know what day it is. That's the problem.
A lot of people would vote for a corpse over Donald Trump. That actually says more about Donald Trump than it does about Joe Biden. Let's go.
All right. Michael Knowles, apparently people will vote.
Now, it says more about the media's agenda, and it says more about the mental fortitude of the general American public. The fact that people can just tell them over and over again, Donald Trump bad, Donald Trump bad, Donald Trump bad. And they say all these very vague things about him, such as he's a threat to democracy. He's a racist, he's a sexist, misogynist, whatever. And every single time you ask them, give me an example. Of course, the threat to democracy thing, they'll say J6, but if you actually dig into that, you can't talk about it too much because, you just can't. But if you actually dig into that, it's not what they claim it was. And, a lot of people got fired for exposing that it's not what they claimed it was. And when it comes to the misogynist, racist stuff, none of that's true either. And if you ever ask someone, just provide me an example of Donald Trump being racist, they can't do it. And if you ask someone, provide me an example of Joe Biden being racist, I can give you 30 to 50 examples of it. So it shows more about the mental fortitude of Americans. The fact that they can so easily be brainwashed.
Over a corpse over Donald Trump.
They will, and please let them do it. Let the partisan Democrats do it. I'm now all in on the Democratic rhetoric. The Democratic primary voters have made their decision. They want Joe Biden as their nominee. It would be an assault on the integrity of this country and on our sacred democracy if they replace him now. I can't wait to see him in all 50 states. At this point, obviously, the man is not up to the job. So someone else is running the country, whether that's Jill, whether it's Ron Klain, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's Barack Obama.
You know what's really interesting, Michael? This is really interesting to me, this panel, because if we'd gone back, 3 months, you'd have all been shouting at each other, arguing about Trump. The two siding to the Democrat side here on the panel, you've been neutered by what's happened. I can feel that the luster has gone. The enthusiasm to beat up conservatives has just flown out of your bodies. I mean, there's not been one argument. You've all just sat there going, we agree, he sucks. Your own guy sucks. He's barely alive. You've lost your fight, haven't you? Biden has removed the fight from Democrats. That's what I'm seeing here.
Absolutely. Actually, I agree with that.
You agree?
I totally disagree. No, if Donald Trump is taking insane, again, the Supreme Court ruling today is unbelievable. The idea that instead on today's show, we're going to focus on whether or not Biden had a bad debate performance is just reflective of the I don't want to say agenda in a negative way, but of what you want to talk about today on this program. Like, I think that the decisions that are being made right now legislatively in the Supreme Court are more important, or that are being made in the Supreme Court are more important
that's happening?
than whether or not Biden has a bad.
You know why it's happening? Because Trump was able to put 3 judges on the court in 1 term. You know why that was? Because you put up a terrible candidate, Hillary Clinton, who was incredibly polarizing, very arrogant, very superior, and she got flatlined by Trump when no one saw it coming on the Democrat side. And secondly, some of your Democrat judges who should have known better decided they weren't going to resign. They weren't going to retire. And because of that, Trump was able to pack that court. So I'm afraid you reap what you sow. Just very bad politics by the Democrats.
One of those Supreme Court justices were literally lost by McConnell just robbing a president of the right to seat a judge. Nobody remembers that Garland was supposed to be on the Supreme Court for almost a full year. McConnell said, we're not going to have that hearing. That is indefensible.
Let me bring in Michael.
Oh, my God.
Tommy has to leave in a moment. So, Michael, come to you, then come back to Tommy for a final wrap from her. But Michael.
Destiny, the principle that you're articulating that a president should be able to put a judge on the court in an election year, or rather that you say Mitch McConnell violated, was a rule first articulated by Joe Biden in the 90s when he was trying to kill George Bush's judges. So obviously there was a decision today. It said that the president has some immunity for criminal acts or acts committed in his official capacity as president. And this is based on a 40-year precedent. It really goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. Really nothing should be surprising about this. And yes, the Democrats are upset. They're
not
inveighing.
True. This is
just
based
let me finish
precedent.
1 second, Destiny. They're inveighing because they say we should be talking about the immunity case. Well, but part of the articulation of I just was reading the decision.
Destiny is seething, by the way, right now. You see him like squirming as Michael Knowles is just absolutely destroying all his talking points. You can tell somebody's losing when they try to cut you off while you're getting cooked. And whenever they don't allow him to, whenever Michael Knowles doesn't allow Destiny to cut him off, he's just squirming. He's seething because he knows all his points are going down the drain right now. The longer Michael Knowles talks, the more Destiny loses.
Was that, look, this is the first time that you've got a president who's being prosecuted in this way. And that's the problem, because the vast majority of Americans, right, left, and center, have been saying in survey after survey that they view the prosecutions of Trump as primarily politically motivated. They view this as kind of corrupt. And that's one of the reasons why Biden's poll numbers have been so bad for so long. And so they throw this Hail Mary to do a debate in June before either party has settled on a nominee. And it completely blew up in their face. And so no wonder people want to talk about it. You've got a political order that is fraying. You got a guy trying to put his opponent into an orange jumpsuit. And it turns out the guy who's trying to do that, it has applesauce for brains. No wonder people are concerned.
What the American people, a bit like the...
And it's not like, guys, let's be real. It's not Joe Biden trying to put Donald Trump in jail. It's definitely not Joe. But like Joe Biden, he couldn't even decide what he wants to eat for lunch. You know, like there's no way. The guy, I don't even like saying things like this because I don't like clowning on an old man for getting old. The guy is old and he's getting abused by his wife and whoever else is calling the shots. To me, it's very obvious that Jill Biden she doesn't like Joe Biden. She just likes the power that Joe Biden holds. And, you know, after the debate with that weird moment between Joe Biden and Jill Biden, where she was like, you did so great. You answered all the questions. It was like a kindergarten teacher talking to a student, you know, it was weird. And it's really sad to watch Joe Biden deteriorate and also be paraded around as if he's calling the shots, as if he's making these decisions. It's abuse, you know, and I'm the type of person, I don't like to kick people when they're down. And I understand he's the president of the United States and everything like that. The guy probably doesn't even realize he's the president of the United States. The guy probably forgets on a daily basis he's the president of the United States. And it's sad to me. And anybody who doesn't say it's sad probably just never really experienced that in their life. Like watch one of their family members or something go through that, you know? So I think it's sad. I don't like making fun of him, but it's just the facts of the situation is there is zero chance that Joe Biden is the one calling the shots to try and put Donald Trump in jail, which in my opinion makes the situation even scarier because it's not one guy that you're trying to go after. You don't know who it is calling the shots trying to put Donald Trump in jail, you know? So that makes the situation even crazier, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong.
British, I think, would be the same in this position. They can smell a political hit job. And the fact that the first case that was used against Trump to try and convict him and put him in prison involved a payoff to a porn star 20 years ago for a supposed one-night stand or whether it happened or not, that just smelt to them like a massive overreach. Whether he did it or not, they didn't care. And so the idea that the first American president in history to ever be convicted of a crime in a criminal court is convicted over something so pathetic and trivial.
That's spot on by Piers too. And I know Destiny is absolutely seething. I can see it in his face right now. He's so pissed, but it's true, man. Like think about the war crimes that people like Obama and around that time period, around that era in presidency, around the Obama time period and a little bit before as well. Think about the the lives lost. I have to watch what I say, but the lives that were lost because of those presidencies in other countries. The things that have come out ever since those presidencies, and the things that we're looking back on in a new light because of things that the government has done to us recently, looking back on past presidencies. I mean, come on. Really, like, I'm not even saying that he should be prosecuted or that he should be put in jail or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that if you're going to go after a president, a former president or a future president, current president, whatever, for crimes, the reality is a lot of the presidents have done horrible things to their own citizens, but especially citizens of other countries, including killing them, maybe not with their own hands, but calling the shots to go kill a lot of innocents. And what you're going to do is try to go after Donald Trump for sleeping with a porn star? That's what we're doing? It's a great point by Piers, dude. It's a great point.
The American people, the right-minded, reasonable people who are not in the kind of mad tribal ends of their parties, all went, well, that's ridiculous. And actually demeaning to the country. Tommy, I know you got to go. So final thoughts from you before we let you go, and then we'll carry on with the with Francesca as the rose between two thorns afterwards. But Tommy, your summary of where we are with this. What do you think is going to happen?
Yes.
Give me a roadmap to the election day.
Listen, I think they got to replace Joe. I don't know if it happens at the convention. I don't know if it happens after the convention. If they use that mechanism and the DNC has to get together and pull some strings, I would remind folks that don't think it can be done. Let's remember that the Democrats were able to overhaul our election system due to COVID in 2020 in a matter of months and nationalize mass mail-in voting. So I never underestimate a Democrat, though I will say in sitting with this panel today, it's easy to see how sad the Democrats are, the liberals are. It's easy to watch them crumble because their candidate quite literally is crumbling before our very eyes. It's a great day to be a Republican. It's not a great day to be a liberal, but I hope you guys stick with Joe, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, what do you? That's an interesting question as well. Do you guys hope that they stick with Joe Biden? Because if you're looking at the situation, let's say 50 years from now, if Joe Biden steps down or they remove Joe Biden or whatever, 50 years from now, you'll look back on this and let's just say there's no social media or anything, and you don't see the clips of Joe Biden and see how bad it is, you'll think, wow, that's crazy. Why would somebody who just won the presidency step down when trying to run for a second term? That barely has happened before. That's very rare to happen. So from that perspective, it's like, why the hell would Joe Biden step down? He just won. So why would he not have a good chance of winning again? But at the same time, as someone who doesn't want the Democrats to win, I hope that Joe Biden doesn't step down. I hope it's Joe Biden as the candidate. So it's interesting. Do you guys hope, as a Republican or just person who doesn't want the Democrats to win, do you hope Joe Biden stays as the candidate, or do you hope he steps down or is removed?
Tommy Lahren, always great to have you on Uncensored. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. Destin, I could see you thoroughly agreeing with everything Tommy was saying there.
It's just Francesca, I think is her name. I agree with her. The thing that Democrats suck on, that we're missing, is this blind allegiance to a leader, literally no matter what he does. It is the engine that powers Republicans. It allows them to lie for their leader. It allows them to excuse horrendous actions by their leader. It allows them to look at a president and after decades of saying, oh, we need to limit the power of government. Oh, we need to limit the power, say, well, maybe the president should actually be above most criminal prosecution. Also, as a quick thing, you keep saying that, no, it's just partial immunity for official acts. What is an official act of the president? If you actually listen to the oral arguments that were presented before the Supreme Court, what that act even is and the ability to even probe for it is stuff right now that is now presumed to be immune. For instance, just a real quick thing. When Donald Trump is asking Pence, hey, can you throw out the election because I don't like the results, which is a real thing that happened, by the way. As much as I would like to say that's not true, that is counted as an official action because these are the roles of the president and vice president, deciding how to count the electoral votes. That is insanity to me. If Biden were to do anything even remotely similar, Republicans would lose their minds.
Have you read the decision? I know it just came out this morning, but have you gone through the decision yet?
I read up to page 25, and part of it, I can read it out to you. He explicitly calls out that whenever the president and vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct, meaning that presiding over the January 6th certification proceeding, at which members, yes, so that did count as official conduct. So if you thought that he was trying to do a coup, try to steal the election by saying, hey, do you think you can throw those votes out? Well, that's beyond prosecution.
You can dispute or object to any actions that Trump takes, but it is simply the case that when a president is carrying out his duties and is speaking to his subordinates in the White House, that is obviously official business. If he were to bring in a bunch of, I don't know, drug dealers and hookers.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Or something that would probably be an unofficial crime, not related to his duties as president. And the reason that this matters and why it's really a moderate decision is because it goes back about 40 years to Nixon versus Fitzgerald, which found out that the president, yes, indeed, has quite a lot of immunity from at least from civil liability. And then the reason that this is such a novel bombshell case is because until Joe Biden tried to throw his rival into the clink, we didn't prosecute presidents, because that's the kind of behavior typical of banana republics and tin pot dictatorships. But the argument, and I'm sure you've read this, even if you've just read the first 25 pages, goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. It goes all the way back to the finding that the presidency does have certain privileges. It's not totally beholden to the other two branches of government. It's got an executive privilege. We have a separation of powers here. It goes back to the Federalist Papers when the framers of the Constitution said that they need a vigorous presidency, because the problem with the first American Republic, which was the Articles of Confederation, was that you didn't have any strong executive power. So this is not something new. This is a perfectly in keeping with the American legal tradition. And now the Democrats are really upset about it, not because it's an upending of American jurisprudence, but because they're going to actually have to run on their guy. They're not going to be able to cheat and throw the guy in jail or take him banish him to St. Helena. They're going to have have a square election, and they know they're going to lose it.
Yeah, can I just ask a quick question? I just want to hear just a quick question. Yeah. So you're saying that if a president were to order the assassination of a presidential opponent in an election, you're telling me that if he thinks it's for national security reasons, you defend that as being above any kind of review for criminal prosecution? You would say, well, that was an official act as president, right? I answer that question. I really want to answer that question.
Obviously, Destiny.
I have to answer you if you don't interrupt. You're bringing up one of the important questions that was raised during the oral arguments, and it's an argument against the case that Trump's team was making, but it doesn't really pertain to the actual judgment that came down, because they didn't say that the president gets to do whatever he wants. He doesn't get to go and assassinate his rivals. He doesn't get to do this, that, or the other thing. But he does have
Sotomayor
a very
had that in her dissent.
Scope.
She said he could do that, and it'd be beyond review. She put that in her dissent. I did read her dissenting opinion. So how would it be not part of the official job as president? They order drone strikes, don't they? They order the military, don't they? He's the commander in chief, isn't he? Why wouldn't he be able to order the strike and say, you can impeach me if you want, but you can't hold me criminally liable? This is my official act as president.
Sure. Well, I mean, even the aspect of impeachment is kind of secondary to that, because the Trump team was arguing that if you
why are we acting like this hasn't happened already? I'm not saying that a sitting president assassinated like one of his opponents, but I mean, guys, presidential candidates, very powerful people, sitting presidents, they've all been assassinated before. This isn't like a brand new thing. We're all acting like this hasn't happened already, and the people have been okay with it. The government has not pursued legal action against the president or anything like that. It sucks because I have to watch what I say, but why are we acting like that's never happened before? It has happened before, and nothing happened to the president. Nothing.
You want to go after a president at all, you've got to do it through impeachment. And the court said, no, you can actually prosecute former presidents for crimes that they committed in office. So the fever dream that you and other Democrats are creating of what this decision implies is not actually what the court said. The court gave a very moderate opinion that said that certain aspects that are conclusive and preclusive within the scope of the executive branch, he has full immunity, and he's got partial immunity around the peripheries, and then he could be criminally liable outside of that. And if you're asking why, President Trump standing on Fifth Avenue and shooting his rival in the face, how we could possibly prosecute him for that, I think you just don't have any faith in the American legal tradition. And I think you're making an absurd argument to try to judge.
No, he has faith. He just doesn't have faith whenever things aren't looking like they're in his favor. He has faith in every other situation, just not whenever destiny isn't getting his way. And Michael Knowles is completely spot on here. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this heated debate between Destiny and Michael Knowles. That's about it. That's where the debate kind of comes to an end, and Piers just kind of shuts it down from there. Let me know what you're thinking about this episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored with Michael Knowles and Destiny going at it for basically the entire episode. I found it very entertaining, and I thought Michael Knowles did a great job at just dismantling all of Destiny's woke arguments. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this whole situation.